And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas,
where we talk about all your favorite scary movies.
And today we are talking about a new release scary movie. We are talking about The Ugly Stepsister.
Yeah, and we both just watched this. This is kind of one that's under the radar, I would say, right now. It's getting really good reviews. And maybe
I don't know how under the radar it is.
Well, it's a foreign language movie, so it's always going to be a little under the radar.
Yeah. It came out this year. It premiered at Sundance actually this year in January, and it opened the midnight section at Sundance, and then it was released in US cinemas in April, and it was added to Shudder this month. So you can watch it now. It's accessible. You don't have to pay for it. If you're on Shudder, it's on there for you to watch. And it is a foreign language film, like Matt mentioned. It's co-written and directed by Emilie
Blichfeldt.
Fuck me.
Blichfeldt.
Starring Lea Myren. I should not be allowed to speak.
Yeah, you're not allowed to name any foreign language directors, unfortunately.
It's on me. It's on me.
You're canceled, bro.
And it is a Norwegian, Polish, Swedish, Denmarkian film, and the language that the film is in is Norwegian.
But more importantly, it's a retelling of Cinderella from the point of the stepsister.
Yeah, you probably got that from the name of the movie.
I didn't know. I mean, going in, so... it's a real retelling that I guess is more similar to the original Brothers Grimm short stories, whatever. They were folklore. I always get confused.
So what I was going to say about that is that obviously when it comes to the different, the different fairy tales, there are different iterations of each fairy tale. So... the original, one of the famous versions of Cinderella was written by Charles Perrault in 1697, and that fits much closer to the Disney version of the film. But the Brothers Grimm version, which was published in the Grimm's Fairy Tales in 1812, is much more similar to this movie, and the ending for the, quote, ugly stepsister in this film more so matches what happens in that story. So this movie isn't going to be offering you anything that I think is going to be particularly different for you if you're familiar with the different iterations of the fairy tale, but I did think it was a fun take on it. And like you said, it definitely holds truer to the Grimm version of the fairy tale.
I really liked just knowing not the original, but knowing the Disney animated movie, the ways that they were faithful to even that while also still being this more like real and scary version of it. And so there's some stuff we'll get to in later that I thought was really cool, but... yeah,
and Matt wasn't familiar with the ending of the Grimm story.
No, not at all. I only knew Cinderella.
This. So the whole time he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was like, yeah, bro, you couldn't have guessed that? You didn't know that? And
I did not.
He didn't. So
well, don't spoil. We're spoiler free for now.
So we're going to be spoiler free. We're not going to ruin plot points besides the comparison we've already made.
And we might talk about some body horror stuff because how could you not?
We'll announce when we are going to go full spoilers. Okay, so before we start doing our spoiler-free thoughts, because you just brought up the body horror, I did want to share that I had posted on our socials asking people what they thought of body horror and what their favorite body horror films were.
Cool.
Do you have a favorite offhand, by the way?
Probably not. I haven't watched too many. Like, I really like Possessor, if we count that. I also really like Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future. If we count that. Obviously, The Substance was a big one this past year. But other than that, I don't know. I love the Saw franchise. I don't typically count that as body horror, though.
We had some of those movies mentioned. Rev Almanac, our friend Andrew, said Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. Everyone should watch it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Am I on the same page?
Red Treehouse said, I struggle watching body horror movies. I couldn't get past the squelching shrimp scene in The Substance. But one of my favorite horror movies is The Fly with Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. It's one of the grossest horror movies ever made. Nothing to Fear podcast also said The Fly.
I've actually never seen The Fly, so...
And so did Movie Postmortem podcast.
Guess maybe we got to cover it. A Goldblum treat.
It seems like maybe we do. Daddy Goldblum.
That's also Cronenberg, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I thought so. Daddy Cronenberg.
Yes. Brits by Hobnob, our friend Brit from 1001 by 1 podcast, said, I do love body horror. It tends to be one of the genres that actually gets under my skin. I love 2002's In My Skin and Tetsuo the Iron Man. I might have pronounced that wrong. I'm so sorry. And then we also had a comment from Rue Likes Film saying American Mary and The Substance. And finally, K. Scanlon 653 said John Carpenter's The Thing would be my top choice.
That's not one that I typically think is body horror, but I think that plays.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason.
Yeah. No, I like, there's definitely some scenes that I think could count.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Those are some good picks.
Yep.
No one said the Saw franchise, which I guess people don't typically consider that body horror. That's more in the like torture porn category, although the first one's not really either. So
no, the first one is its own breed, and then they just totally misinterpreted it.
I know. We've said that plenty of times.
Yep. All right, well, let's get into it. What I will say about this film that we both liked was the body horror. The body horror in this film was really well done. It was
upsetting.
Nutty. It was upsetting. And I think it was... something I feel about body horror is if it's not relevant to the plot, I would say, of a movie, I am less interested in body horror.
It usually feels more like exploitation or excess versus
so for me,
like a narrative piece. For me,
it has to be related to the narrative for me to personally enjoy it. And I think in this way, this movie was really well done in that all of the body horror, all of the grossness was very much related to the narrative that we were experiencing, we were receiving.
Agreed.
And I liked that a lot. This movie had us hiding a bit. We had no screams, but we hid between the two of us.
We had some oohs some screeches, so we'll count that as yelling.
But we had 3 hides between the two of us. And I will say that both of mine were during vomiting sequences, because there's 2 of those.
Yeah, so I think one of mine was too.
Both of those. Oh, then you hid 4 times. So I had to hide when there was vomiting. I just don't want to hear someone vomiting. I have some gastrointestinal problems, so I'm like, I am triggered. And then Matt had to look away when there was
eggs. That's all I'll say for now.
Oh, so he did when there were 4
I looked. I didn't want to look, but that was one that got me good.
Yeah. The toes. You also hid.
That was just a long shot.
You hid.
No, I don't think I hid.
There's another scene that has to do with eyeballs. Some people in our TikTok comments are pointing that out. That was also a hard scene to watch, I would say. I think I am one of those people who has never worn contacts. I wore them one time in my life for a Halloween costume.
Yeah, so she could be Bella from
Twilight, because that's the kind of lame that I am. I wanted red newborn vampire contacts, and it took me 45 minutes to get one in.
I put them in for you.
Yeah, I just held open my eye and Matt shoved it in there. I
wear contacts.
So there's an eyeball sequence in this movie that's also like pretty tough to watch if that's something that would make you uncomfortable.
Or if you're looking to be uncomfortable, it's perfect for you.
Yep, that is true. That's so true. So the body horror, I feel like overall was done really well, but I don't think it's like overly graphic. I think it could certainly be grosser, it could certainly be worse, but I also think you're going to have moments where you're going to feel like the temptation to look or close your eyes. I think
it's definitely not the worst I've seen. No. I think what you were saying before really holds true though, is that it is limited body horror, but the body horror that we see it serves a purpose and is like critical to the narrative, which is pretty cool and makes it more interesting. And those, I will say, like the actual heavy body horror scenes were the scenes I was like kind of most locked in for. When I was like, I'm really interested in what I'm watching, because that was the most compelling stuff, especially with our lead actresses, the way that she was able to scream. Mm-hmm. Like that sounds kind of gross, but like the performance she put in while in pain, but also like trying to suffer this pain to look more beautiful was really compelling. Almost, and it's always easy to compare it to like Toni Collette in Hereditary, but like those screams were, I think, not that they were the same as hers, but like gave me a similar feeling of like, this feels a little too real, which I think is cool. If a movie can make me feel like shit, like it's doing its job, and this one very much did. So gotta love it for that.
Yeah, I think this movie also does a really good job of making you feel sympathetic for both the, I don't want to say villain, but like you feel for the protagonist and you feel for who ends up being more of the antagonist. And I think that's really impressive that the movie gets you feeling sympathetic and empathetic for both sides of the narrative. Because I feel like there's a lot of movies you watch and you're like, fuck you, you bitch. And this movie, I didn't feel that. I was sympathetic to all around, to the point where I was like, I hope they're all okay. Which is maybe me being like a little bitch. But so did you feel that way too, about like feeling sympathetic for both the ugly stepsister and like the non-ugly stepsister?
I think, well, it's you and Cinderella. Yeah. I found myself starting, how do I explain this? At the beginning, I was not sympathetic towards Cinderella at all. I was much more sympathetic towards Elvira. As the movie went on, I was like, nah, Cinderella, you kind of earned this one. And Elvira just, I think went too far with it. It's not her fault. I mean, she was definitely like pressured into it by her mother and her need to feel that she could provide for her family. But also there was some sense of selfishness in it as well. And I think it's tough. Like it's a good combination. I like that I was rooting for both. Yeah. But I also think knowing the original Cinderella story and like getting to the end of that, it's hard to not enjoy it, even though the prince is clearly a dickhead the whole time anyway. It's hard not, when they show that pumpkin, they don't show the carriage, but they show the pumpkin. I was like, ooh, I love this shit. And I'm not considering this a spoiler, so, but.
I would say for me, I think inherently, because you're supposed to root for Cinderella in the long run, the quote Cinderella character, like you end up feeling for her. And how could you not feel for her? She obviously is not treated well, as you might expect, by her stepmother. But I feel so bad as well for, quote, the ugly stepsister, Elvira, the whole movie. And even when I get to a point where I'm like, Elvira, no, babes, you can't do that. That's not cool. That's not nice. You're being a bitch. I also just feel like she's clearly been through so much abuse that it's hard for me to not be at least partially sympathetic to her through the entire runtime. Like, even at the end, I was like, honey, you fucked up, but like, no.
Yeah. It's also a cool combination, considering if you look at like, obviously the original Cinderella story, you don't feel anything for the stepmother or stepsisters. And in this one, they've actually made me sympathetic towards all of them, even the stepmother, who I think is like one of the real bad guys. The only person I don't feel sympathetic for is the prince. Like, I think he's a douchebag, but like, that's kind of the point.
Which I also think is interesting, because like, obviously in our Disney version, we are not getting douchebag prince. So I think it's fun to give him a little more context. I don't even know the prince's name in the Disney one. Prince Charming.
Oh, duh. I only know Prince Charming from Shrek 2. So
that's the best version. That is.
I love that movie. Shrek 2 is kind of a masterpiece. Like, not gonna lie, really good movie. That's not even unironic. I'm like not kidding. Like, that is we watched it recently, and Shrek 2 is so goddamn funny.
Laugh out loud, so good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that they did a good job kind of like adding on this background that we don't already know. For those of us who grew up on Disney, aren't familiar with maybe other iterations of the fairy tales, I think it was really great to have like background on more of these characters. And like I said, it like helps you to feel for them by having that background and that narrative. So I thought that was cool.
I agree.
I think the performances all around in this were pretty fine. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, she was amazing, like nominate her.
It's also going to be tougher when you're watching it in a language that you don't natively speak.
Yeah,
you're gonna like see it a little different.
Of course. That's inherently.
But I thought performances were good all around. But what I want to talk about that is spoiler free is I loved the style of this movie. And maybe it's because there's so many movies that I feel like look like they've been all shot on the same camera and all look the same that get released, especially so far this year, other than Sinners, since I don't think we've gotten that many, great movies so far. I will say, like, I really liked the style of this. And, like, from the beginning, I was like, okay, like, we're here for something that's at least different. And I thought they nailed it. I also will say something I said to you during was, I think that too many directors forget that the camera and the eye that the camera looks through is a character within itself and don't use it to its fullest advantage. And this movie, I think, at least tries throughout. Like, there were some really goofy zooms in this that I thought were fantastic.
Oh, my gosh.
I call them goofy because they're goofy by, like, a lot of today's standards because I think directors are afraid to do that. But I love that shit, like a weird crop zoom in on someone. Like, I really, it works. If it's done well and it's in the right hands, like, something that is maybe like kind of cheesy like that really can work to make you feel certain things. And for me, I was like, I love that. Like, even though I like recognize it and I see it, it's like still like that's perfect. And there was a couple other, just the way that they moved the camera, I thought, and the choices they made with it to like kind of make you feel things and to make it a character within itself, I thought was great. So I wish more directors would do it, especially with the zooms. Like a well-timed zoom can be so fucking funny.
Well, I say it on this podcast all the goddamn time. Cinematography means so much to me in a movie. I don't necessarily always have to give a fuck about the plot. If the movie looks pretty, like, I am a damn sucker.
Do we consider that cinematography, like the zoom? Or
I think the way the movie looks, the
I
way
guess
it
is.
like all of that.
I think people are bad about talking about what cinematography is. So that's why I was just asking. But like, I don't think people talk about movement in cameras enough. A lot of times people talk about shots as a still image when like a shot is a moving image.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Yes.
I'm just saying in general, I think that can really like heighten everything for me.
Oh, completely agree. That was more of a pet peeve of mine is people talking about shots in movies and talking about and posting still images. And it's like, girl, like a shot is a moving image. Yeah, sorry.
But
that's my gripe. So if you agree with me, comment.
Is on your point about how the zooms, though, like the stylistically how this movie looks, all of that really adds to it. And then when you add it onto a story that I think we've seen before, but not in this way, it obviously has the potential to be interesting to some of us, not to some of us because we've know the fucking story. I think the cinematography goes a long, long way in this movie. And so ultimately, I think it makes this a strong film. I think it would be an interesting film anyway. Like, I would have probably been locked in anyway between the plot, the body horror, all of that. But I think the cinematography
and I don't really know if it's that, I'm going to say it this way. It's not that the cinematography is like outstanding. It's that it's unique.
Yeah.
And I was going to say the same thing about the music in this movie. They use some weird like synth stuff.
Is so good.
This is a period piece. I'm saying in quotes because like I don't know. It is obviously like fantasy sort of. But they use this like weird synth music even during like the ball, and it's kind of awesome. Like I love
the music.
Really unique.
Yeah.
Like kind of out there way, but like the choice just works. Some people just have an eye and an ear for stuff like this and making it work. And again, maybe we're just starved for like kind of weird creativity in movies. And so like when I get this, I'm like, oh, thank you. Which is probably again why we thought Sinners was great. I mean, Sinners is amazing for a lot of other reasons, but like the unique choices really elevate it for me. And like Ryan Coogler is full of unique choices in that movie and just fun out there. What did I call it? Pulpy choices. And like this had that too. I think that's really cool. So.
And I think in a year where we're getting things like Death of a Unicorn, which is not doing anything particularly interesting with its themes, its writing in general, its cinematography, etc., seeing movies that are making these creative choices between the narrative, between the cinematography, etc., again, like it just stands out so much compared to some of the other things we're getting. And I heard about this, like, I will say, right after Sundance. So it's not like there was
honest,
a lot out. I heard about this in January.
I didn't hear anything. And when you told me we were going to watch this, I assumed it was going to be some like more kind of bad early year horror movie. And it was not. It was quite unique. Well, my bad. Maybe I'm not in touch. I'm in touch with a lot of other stuff, but.
Well, what I would say too is I do think it takes a lot for a foreign horror movie to get on like American audiences' radars. Because obviously there's so much that comes out in film, both in the US and other countries. So I think for it to not be in English, it has to be good to great to get on a lot of people's radars, to get people to watch a movie with subtitles. So I knew right away that this was going to be a winner. I knew we would like it. And we did. Obviously, this is not in theaters anymore. I would not have needed to see this in the theater either. I liked seeing it at home. I thought that was plenty fine. There's certain movies where like you need to have the experience in theaters, and I would say Sinners is definitely one of those.
Oh, I completely agree.
But this isn't one of those. So, can I continue where I was, Matthew?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I thought we were going to keep the theater part in for this, but that's fine.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is obviously this isn't in theaters anymore, so we can't tell people, like, go see this. But we can tell people, pull up your damn Shudder and watch this. Would you tell them that they should pull up their damn Shudder and watch it?
Yeah, I think... to be honest, if we were in like a time where we were getting a ton of really good horror movies, I'd be like, hey, it's good. It's not like a must see, but I think like right now it's pretty unique, pretty different. It's going to be different from anything else you've seen. I'm always about supporting foreign films in general. So like, why not? Like, yeah, put that thing on. I
definitely would tell people to pull this up. I think
it's hard when Sinners is out right now, and I would be just go see Sinners in theaters again.
Tell people to go see it in theaters. Not everyone wants to pay to go see something in theaters, and it might not be showing for people in their area anymore. Sure. Like, I don't know what their experience
and if you're not going to see it in IMAX, not even worth it anyway. So
Matt, shut the fuck up. It's not available in IMAX anymore.
Well, then you missed out.
Shut up. What I would say is, yeah, go see Sinners, obviously, and if you can't pay for it in theaters, watch it when it comes out. But I would recommend watching this one. I think it's worth a watch. I had a lot of fun with it. It's like also not a long movie. I think the pacing is very good overall, and I think good pacing is really important. I think people like absolutely fucking can't pay attention anymore. So having this short of a movie that like holds your attention is very interesting. I think is a huge pro. Doesn't take that much time out of your day. Just put this shit on. Well, I also think thematically, you can probably tell by the name of the movie, The Ugly Stepsister, what this movie is going to be about, what it's going to say a little bit. And so I think thematically, it's also really relevant for the world we're living in. Okay, so I think we're about ready to get into like spoilers for this, but before we do that, I want to do an icebreaker, and it's based on the question that the Jiu-Jitsu Panda asked us. Yeah, so let's just nail that as our icebreaker. So they on TikTok asked us, speaking of Sinners, what is our Mount Rushmore of vampire movies? So we need to name 4 vampire movies. Hannah's just going to name 4 of the Twilight movies as her Mount Rushmore. This is a great question, though, so I was like, let's just do it, especially to interact here. I hate myself, but obviously, guys, one of the Twilight movies has got to be in there. I mean, come on. They're pieces of shit, but I love them. I'm going to have to think really hard about this, but go ahead and see if you can do your Mount Rushmore. We'll do that. We'll do... Can I just do... You're doing Twilight, or which one are you picking? I feel like I'll just say Twilight. It's not my favorite in the series, but like, fuck it, whatever. Let the Right One In. Oh, good pick. I feel like is a great film, important film. I haven't seen the one from last year, something vampire seeking a consenting suicidal person. I have not seen that one yet.
Why don't you name your favorite TV show?
What's my favorite TV show?
You know, the vampire TV show. How can you not? Colin Robinson.
No, I don't know if I
What is the name of that show? I can't think of it.
I don't know if I would put that.
Wait, what is the name of that show? I cannot think about.
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows, yeah.
I don't know if I would put that in, but I do like it. And we saw Colin Robinson.
In real life.
In real
All right,
life.
hold up. Give us your Mount Rushmore.
Okay, I'm still working on it. God damn it. I would say I haven't seen Interview with the Vampire, so sorry guys. Can't put that in there. Nosferatu, I've seen the original and I've seen the most recent. I like both of those quite a bit, so we'll just throw both in there. Matt, what about you? Because I'm just
fine.
Word vomiting.
Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola is in mine. I love that movie. I've only ever seen it once and I loved it. Someone in the comments named The Little Vampire, and I agree. The Little Vampire was very formative for me. Great vampire movie that was both scary and really entertaining. So I'm putting both of those in there. My brain keeps going to that stupid Will Smith movie, I Am Legend, that is has nothing to do with the original. I Am Legend, but with the alternate ending that actually is more close to the book. We'll go with that one, even though they're not even vampires, but they're kind of supposed to be. And my fourth, this is hard. I would also probably, From Dusk Till Dawn. Sorry, that's easy. Let the Right One In should be in there. I should probably take out
From Dusk Till Dawn?
No, From Dusk Till Dawn goes in. No, I'm taking out the other one that I said.
Matt, fun fact, I saw Hotel Transylvania in theaters.
That movie, Hotel Transylvania, does slap.
It's so cute.
But Bram Stoker's Dracula is what I said. From Dusk Till Dawn. Probably Let the Right One In.
We haven't seen A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night either.
I haven't.
Which I feel like I need to
We could throw Blade in there. There's some good vampire movies, all right?
Okay, but guys, don't sleep on Breaking Dawn Part 1 and Breaking Dawn Part 2.
All right, Twilight is the best of the 5, so I'm just saying.
I don't
all
agree.
Right. Well, that's our icebreakers. Do we want to get into 15-second summaries now?
Yeah.
Vampire movies are tough. We got to do a vampire month where we review a bunch of vampire movies. All right, I haven't seen 30 Days a Night, and I feel really guilty about it, and everyone can shame me for it. So that's definitely one that I need to watch, and that would probably make my Mount Rushmore. But for real, like the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula movie, my goodness, like that one spoke to me. I'm sorry, I'm still sad you didn't like it. So
okay, so yeah, let's go in. We are gonna go full fucking spoilers here. So if you're not into that, I give you permission to peace out at this point. Now entering
spoiler
zone.
Now we're entering the spoiler zone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the spoiler zone. After this point, you're going to hear some things that you might not want to hear.
So do you want to go first for 15-second summaries for this movie?
Yeah.
Cool. Wait, this is so easy. I should go first.
I'm going first.
All right, 15-second summary, Hannah. Wow, you just smacked the shit out of the mic. Okay. I'm not going to edit it out.
Yes, you are.
You ready? Go.
Cinderella, but the Grimm version where they cut off her toes.
That's all I was going to say, too. All right, fine. You ready? 3, 2, 1. It's Cinderella, but you follow the ugly stepsister. She's not really ugly, though, and they call her fat. She's not really fat either. I don't know. It's kind of weird. And but instead of fairy godmother and animals, the animals are maggots, and the maggots make her dress with their little webs, because maggots have webs, apparently. And it's awesome. Right.
Okay.
That was my favorite part of the movie, when the maggots fixed the dress. I was like, this is the best. I was like, how do we do the whole Cinderella? How do we do the whole Cinderella animal thing? Okay, let's have the maggots who are eating her dead dad's body fix her dress. And I was like, yep, this movie's for me. So, all right.
Okay. So
give us the full summary.
Full summary.
Bear with Hannah as she speed reads the full summary.
Okay. Elvira and Amma are sisters whose mother, Rebecca, has recently married an older man in hopes of attaining wealth and privilege. Said man has a daughter, Agnes. After Agnes's father dies on his wedding night, the family learns that he was actually penniless. Worried that she might be too old to find a new wealthy husband, Mom decides to instead marry off one of her daughters. She selects Elvira, as Amma has not yet reached puberty. While Elvira dreams of marrying the shallow Prince Julian, Rebecca is aware that her daughter is widely seen as conventionally ugly and has little chance of winning him over. In order to make her daughter better, Rebecca subjects her to a series of painful plastic surgeries, and she swallows a tapeworm to lose weight. Elvira is also made to take finishing lessons, and it's during this time that her initial admiration for Agnes turns to jealousy. One night, Elvira discovers Agnes having sex with the stable boy. She tells her mother, who forces Agnes to become a servant. They start to call her Cinderella. As the royal ball approaches, Elvira's tapeworm grows in size, causing her to become malnourished, so her hair starts falling off. During a dress fitting with her mother, the dress tailor gives Elvira a wig and a gown. Elvira grows angry when she sees Agnes with a ball gown, which she destroys. As Agnes cries over her father's rotting corpse, which is covered in maggots, her biological mother returns as her fairy godmother. She's dead. To give her shoes and warn her that the carriage will turn back to a pumpkin by midnight, but we'll take her to the ball. The worm and maggots fix her dress. During the ball, Elvira successfully attracts Prince Julian's attention. However, his attention is quickly stolen by a beautiful veiled woman. Hint, it's Agnes. As the two dance, Elvira recognizes that it is Agnes. She escapes to another room and vomits up tapeworm eggs. Later, both women return home, are aware that Agnes accidentally left behind a slipper and that Prince Julian will use it to identify his dream woman. Elvira forces Agnes to hand over the other shoe. When she discovers that her feet are too large for the slippers, as in the Grimm fairy tale, she begins to cut off her own toes. She's discovered by her mom and her sister. Her sister is horrified when her mom calmly sedates her and completes the task by chopping off her toesy woesies. The next morning, a wounded Elvira hears the trumpets announcing the Princess Elvira arrival. She crawls on the floor and falls down a flight of stairs, breaking her nose, chipping her tooth, only to discover that Agnes and the prince have already successfully found one another. Defeated, Elvira takes an antidote to treat the tapeworm and vomits it up. The film ends with the sisters choosing to leave their mother so they can live free of her influence.
I did not comprehend any of that, but I did watch the movie, so it's okay.
Did I talk really fast?
You did what I do, which is where you talk really fast, but you kind of start to blend sentences together, so it's like the thoughts.
Because I'm really fast.
It's hard, but yeah, that movie is crazy.
But it's, yeah, I like the Grimm fairy tale.
No, I said I actually think it's a great adaptation,
yeah,
to be honest.
Too.
Like, what a fun way. And I feel like especially in a world of Disney adaptations that are basically taking cartoons and just remaking them with live action, or in the case of The Lion King, remaking them as more real looking cartoons, which is dumb as shit. And I'm sorry. Like, for real, can we, side note, stop doing this. I love The Lion King. I will just go watch The Lion King. I don't need to watch some weird animated version of some weird live action but still animated version of it. I don't need to go watch Aladdin again. I have that movie. I love it. Like, stop doing these weird cash grabs. It drives me insane. Like, you're not adding anything to it. At least with like the Jungle Book movie, they added something to it. But like the rest of them,
I refuse to watch an Aladdin that doesn't have Robin Williams.
I also agree with that. Rest in peace.
Let's be real. Also, the real lions can't. I mean, they're adorable, but they can't have facial expressions anyway. Here we are.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole thing just drives me insane.
Ramble.
And like, I don't know. It's just a cash grab thing. I'm fine. You know what? I'm fine with plenty of cash grabs. This one pisses me off though.
But not
anyway. This is a great, cool adaptation of a Disney movie. Is my point for a lot.
Much,
This is a better live action Cinderella.
Yeah, and I would say part of that is that I think it does a really great job thematically with what the movie is saying and doing. So, do we just want to just jump there?
Probably, but I was trying to think if there's any like.
I mean, we can always talk about
sure. Let's go to themes then.
And stuff later.
I mean, the themes are on the nose, and that's kind of the point here.
But,
as one of our
Cinderella.
TikTok commenters said, it's the pre-substance. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately for this movie, I think it's a little less nuanced than the substance is. Although the substance is not hiding its feelings, I think it's a little more layered than this movie. Where this is very much like, a character that believes she's ugly, tries to make herself more pretty for people that aren't herself, and then ends up looking more ugly in the long run because of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's exactly the point, is by trying to make yourself more beautiful, but but doing things at the expense of other people specifically makes you ugly. So yeah, I think this movie is very, very much about societal standards, mostly about what we look like and what is considered conventionally beautiful. I think it's really sad the way, and you mentioned this kind of earlier, the way that she views herself as overweight and needs to swallow a tapeworm to lose weight.
I think they did this on purpose, but the fact is the body double and this actress that they show is just not overweight at all. She's very normal looking.
And
I think that's definitely the point.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, I was like, oh no. I was like, they showed the body double. I was like, she's good looking. What are we doing here?
That was boobs.
I was like, yeah, she's kind of hot. But no.
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. When you are feeling insecure, everything you see is not beautiful or it can be fixed.
And it's a big body dysmorphia thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't think she was insecure until her mom made her insecure.
Well, I think that's the other piece is how much our family and the way we are raised might impact our viewing of ourselves and others. And I do think a lot of people nowadays, especially being raised in the age of social media, we are constantly seeing things on the internet. We are constantly seeing things on the internet that are telling us what we're supposed to look like, but all of those people are a size 00 and spend hours a day probably working out if they're a famous person because they can afford to do that. And that's just not reasonable for every person. And so I think, it makes sense that in this day and age, we're getting so many of these films like The Substance about body image and how we view ourselves.
Specifically women.
Because we are the most susceptible to that.
And especially in the industry, which
the industry is there to sell us things. Yeah. To sell us makeup because our face isn't pretty enough, to sell us plastic surgery because our boobs aren't big enough or our stomachs are too big and we need liposuction.
Or your nose.
Yeah.
Hey, you have a nose that they would try to make in that movie though, so I don't know if you get to have an opinion.
When I was younger, I was told I had a pig nose.
You got the what our friend said, you got the Belle Delphine nose. I don't know if she's relevant anymore, but
I'm not sure.
Your nose is in right now. Here, show everyone. Show the profile. Oh, they can't see you. No, you turned too far. It disappeared. All right.
But that's just the nature of being a woman, and then obviously we think about obviously eating disorders are extremely common, and the urge that people have to take laxatives to lose weight or to vomit to lose weight, or in this case, eat a tapeworm because that is what is also accessible for her to lose weight. I think this movie, while those themes are pretty on the surface, I don't think it takes a lot of brain power to get there. I do think that it is really effective, especially given how painful the procedures she's going through to get there are. Also, the fact that she chops off the wrong footsies. The fact that
that was actually so funny.
She's
Sorry,
chopping off the wrong toes.
We didn't talk about. Did we explain that she chopped the wrong toes off, so mom had to come in and fix it and chop off the right toes because she just.
I laughed out loud. I was dead from that. But then that, normal people obviously don't chop off their fucking toes.
True.
But again, I think that is just a great way to show the severity of what it's like to try and fit in or get what you want. It's just sad.
Good way to put it.
Well, I'm so smart. It's just sad, she says.
No, as I said, it's not like this movie is... I like this movie. It's not it's extremely layered or out there with its theming. It's pretty on the nose, and that's fine. On the nose. Ha, puns.
Given she has a nose job, ha.
But I do think there comes a part of it that is very much about, as you said, like familial pressure
Yes,
from her mother.
yeah.
And her mom's kind of a piece of shit. And that's, I like the mom's piece of shit. It's also kind of funny that mom ends up like basically seducing that guy at the end, and maybe he's going to turn out, but the girl's like, we got to get away from her. And maybe it's actually more about like toxic family bonds, especially between mothers and daughters, than it is about actual expectations on women. Although it is about that.
I think it's both.
But a big
yeah.
part of it, and like for it to end with the two of them being like, no, like we're leaving this toxic lifestyle, even though she already took the brunt of it, basically becoming the real ugly stepsister that she is. Sorry to put it that way, but
I mean,
yeah.
her nose is broken. Yeah,
Her nose
it's
is
not
broken, her
cute.
tooth is missing, she's had a tapeworm, like, and hopefully she learns her lesson. I'm glad Agnes got her away. Or not Agnes, excuse me. Her sister. I don't remember. Oma got her away. And, you know, so that's like a big deal. I think that that's an interesting read of it. I think it's something that a lot of women can relate to, especially the mother-daughter relationship, which is like tumultuous in a lot of ways for a lot of different people. And is like kind of a known tumultuous relationship.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, if we look at like kind of the theming of Barbie, which funnily enough is, what do I say? The theming of Barbie is kind of like more nuanced than this is, which is like silly to say. But the idea of like mothers stand still so their daughters can continue to move forward is like this is like the opposite of that, where mother is trying to force daughter to move forward when she doesn't want to. And also not really standing still. You follow me what I'm saying here?
Repeat that.
I was saying how
Re-explain.
the themes in Barbie are about how like mothers stand still to basically allow their daughters to progress
Okay.
and to do that. I'm saying this is like the kind of dark version of that, where mom is like trying to get their daughter to progress and be successful in a way that the daughter doesn't want.
Or in a way that's abusive to
Exactly,
the
but
daughter.
mom sees herself as the good guy of like, I'm stopping my life to try to get daughter to move forward, but really it's just so like daughter can get money so that you can get taken care of as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly extremely, extremely selfish.
Yeah. But I was more just saying it's kind of an interesting mirror to, I think, the theming of that movie.
I mean, I certainly think that, like, this movie, obviously the substance, Barbie, like, they all go hand in hand from the last few years of cinema.
But they're all saying like a little bit of different things,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
interesting. And I think they're all kind of a spectrum of this same idea about expectations placed on women by society, by their parents, by their family, by their mother in particular. And like, again, sometimes the mother figure is there to help them. And sometimes in this case, they're there to harm them.
To hinder them.
Yes, or to hinder them.
Extremely, yeah.
Which is all like part of it. Or Ladybird, another good example. No?
What?
Ladybird?
I heard labor, and I was
I
like,
said
what in the
Ladybird,
fuck are you
another
talking about?
good example.
I mean, yeah, Ladybird is
I
a
really like that movie.
masterpiece that I can relate to in a way that I don't feel comfortable going into at this time. But if you've seen it, you get it.
Yeah. Honestly, it's kind of relatable to this movie in some ways, but
Yeah, that and this definitely
was my
have their
point.
parallels,
Yeah.
for sure. So we've talked about themes for the most part. Do we have anything that we liked or didn't like about the movie that we
didn't
didn't
talk
already
about?
say that would be, require spoilers to discuss?
I was going to say I kind of did like the graphic nature of it. I think it was like pretty critical for this,
Yeah, I think it was extremely
especially when it came to like the nose job, the eyes being done.
I actually, and I never wanted to say this, I think some of it could have been gorier. And like I said, I never say that.
I agree. I think there probably could have been more horror, but I kind of also
I like that it was restrained.
I appreciated the restraint and only having it in those moments. I thought maybe there were going to be like more procedures she got done. But I'm okay with the level of
I'm
it.
more referring to like when she chopped off the toes. I could have used a little spray.
I didn't need more because the scene of her just holding the piece of wood to smash the cleaver
Got you enough.
for like 30 seconds. I'm like, oh my God. Like that was a actual masterpiece of like tension and dread because I'm like, I know it's going to happen, but like when is it going to happen?
The shot of her, it's like a full body shot of her with her foot propped up with the like knife held and then the wood held up in her other hand, like leaning over. That was a gorgeous looking shot. I was obsessed. I'm trying to think of what else that I might have to say that isn't something we didn't already say. Did you feel like you had any particular scenes in this film that might be standout that we haven't mentioned we should talk about?
Oh, I was about to say, I already mentioned it. The scene, obviously, of her before chopping off her toes, I think is just so
incredible,
impressive.
I think the vomit scenes were really, really hard. Personally, I think seeing like the tapeworms, it was hard for me. And I think a lot of people have like a vomit thing where they can't handle seeing vomit. So that certainly like was the most upsetting and effective scenes for me in like terms of a gross out perspective. Did you have anything that you thought was
No, I think anything with the tapeworm really freaked me out. The eyes freaked me out. Like I said, pretty much anytime she was getting surgery, I was like pretty like locked in. It freaked me out, but also like really pulled me into the movie.
Did you have any moments? I guess like I've watched all The Office and you haven't. Any of the tapeworm scenes, did it come to your mind of Mindy Kaling being like, Creed sold me a tapeworm, and then Creed going, that wasn't a tapeworm? No explanation.
I never thought about that. No.
I thought about it constantly.
I thought about this weird show on Nickelodeon that had these puppets, and the one guy got a tapeworm, and then they gave a tapeworm to the other. They worked in a burger shop in a mall, and they were little puppets.
I was listening.
What was that show?
I don't know what.
The meat something.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Really ugly looking show. Scary looking show. Yeah.
I will also add that I very recently started listening to this podcast called Mr. Ballen's Medical Mysteries. And there was an episode about this guy who was having really, really severe headaches. And he went and then they did scans and they were like, you have cysts in your brain. But then they did more scans and they were like, actually what looked like cysts is tapeworm eggs in your brain.
Oh my God.
And how you got those is because clearly like so you undercooked meat and then you swallowed tapeworm eggs, but then clearly you went potty, you didn't wash your hands very well, and then you touched like one of your orifices and then they went up in your brain.
That is scarier than this movie. So thank you for that image.
You're so welcome. I knew you couldn't handle that podcast.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan.
It's not something that Matt is in his ballpark.
Yep. Nope. I'm good. I can watch plenty of scary horror movies. And I can watch scarier shit than you, but that one... Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, we're watching The Pit right now, and he's having anxiety.
I like The Pit, but yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it turns out that was RFK Jr. That was him, right?
What?
You're not getting my joke? Yeah.
It wasn't.
Surprise.
It was just
plot twist.
Dummy.
All right. Well.
Yeah, it is giving RFK springworms. Okay. So everyone who listens to this should know how I feel about that.
All right. Well, what do we got? We hit all the themes. Do we want to rate it, or is there something else I'm missing?
I think we can rate it.
Okay, you ready? I got mine.
What?
I'm giving it... It's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. I really liked it. It's not outstanding in any way, but like it's solid. I think I need a lot of movies. I want to be a little more like nuanced with their storytelling and like a little more layered. But like overall, this is like a pretty fun retelling of like that classic story.
Yeah.
So, and I think it looks good. I think it's scary and uncomfortable, but it just is a 7 for me. You know,
I think that's mostly
a good review, right?
Fair. I think if I'm rating it out of 10, I'd probably go like a 7.5-ish. I think obviously growing up with Cinderella and Disney, but then also knowing the Grimm fairy tales made it pretty enjoyable. And I think for what this movie is, it's really well made. So I think that's where I'll go. We have a new rating scale we're testing out that a friend recommended. Where he asked us to rate movies on a scale of -5 to +5.
Where a 0 is completely indifferent, and
Negative
then negative's
means
dislike.
I didn't like it. Positive means we did like it. So in that regard, it would be...
Oh, you know, it's funny. I was going to give it like a +1.5.
That doesn't make any sense,
A
bro.
+2 would be a 7.
No,
So what do you mean?
wouldn't.
Yes, it would. 0 would be a 5. +2 would be a 7.
Oh, it would.
Yeah, so +1 for this
Okay,
is like
well,
a 6.
then I'm going...
I don't love it, but I like it.
+2.5.
You don't math, so that'd be like close to a 7.5 for you.
That's what I just said, yeah.
I can't believe you just told me that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I forgot the scale.
+1 would be like a 6.
I messed up the scale, so 2.5
All right.
mangled toes.
I feel like a +1. So
2.5 mangled feet, 2.5 tapeworm eggs,
Ew.
vomited up.
God, the music during the dancing scenes was so cool. I know I said that already, but you made me think about it. Synth sounds. Well, okay. So for podcast listeners, I think that we are wrapping it up. So I'd say check this one out. Not amazing, but very different, very unique, and I'd say it's worth your time. Also, foreign language films are cool. So
I definitely recommend. And I would also throw out today we hit 10,000 followers on TikTok, so make sure to follow us and find us there too.
perfect.
Thank you for listening.
Bye. Everyone.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannahs. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever else you can find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post episodes and shorts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannahs on TikTok and Instagram, as well as at Horror Hour on Blue Sky for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!